Do you know which country is the largest producer of firearm and military weapons? In order to sustain as a country, what do you think is actually required? Is it food, water, or electricity? The answer is both yes and no. This seems absurd, right? Let me tell you why. A developing country's problems are food, water, and electricity. On the other hand, a superpower is the one who wants to have more and more land, power, influence, and allies to intimidate its opponents, which is not possible just with money. So here comes the most effective tool, weapons, the deadly weapons. So the superpowers must not only produce weapons but export them as well to ensure their defense, to strengthen relations with their allies, and to instill fear among their opponents. And of course, to make ton loads of money by selling the weapons locally and internationally. Leaving behind Russia and China, USA is the largest producer of civil and military firearm. The US holds 40% of global arms exports. We are not talking here about millions of dollars. The US firearm industry is worth hundreds of billion dollars. The United States sells or provides military weapons to more than 95 countries worldwide. Many of the US allies are dear buyers of US weapons as well. To your surprise, remember that wars in other countries open up great business opportunities for the weapon manufacturers and sellers. Because when a war starts between two countries, they call their allies for help and weapons. In the past 100 years, no country in the world dared to call USA for a military engagement. Just like other superpowers, USA has delightfully either participated or has started more than 16 biggest wars in the past 100 years.
The United States military has gone strikes
against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps,
including World War II, Vietnam War, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Lebanon War, and many more to name.
An axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
disarming Saddam Hussein now.
As a result, they sold their weapons and pumped billions of dollars into their economy, maintained global military presence and strategic interests. For this greater good of USA, there is a cost paid by the general public. The United States, a country that symbolizes freedom and democracy, there lies a troubling reality, one that affects every corner of this nation.
Suspect fired more than a dozen shots.
Video shows them draw their weapons and fire at a man.
In 2023, over 48,000 lives were lost to gun-related incidents in USA. That's more than 130 people every single day. From mass shootings to street crime, from suicides to accidental discharges, gun violence in America has become an epidemic. Each shooting in the schools, on the road, and at the public places leaves a permanent scar on the community. But what fuels this cycle of violence? To understand America's relationship with guns, we need to look back at its history. US Constitution in 1791 granted the right to bear arms to empower citizens for national defense. But today, the US has the highest rate of civilian gun ownership in the world, with over 460 million guns in circulation in a population of 342 million. That's more than one gun per person, and the consequences are deadly. When compared to the other developed nations, the US experiences very high rates of gun deaths. In 2023, the US saw a rise in mass shootings, more than 600 incidents in a year where 4 or more people were shot. The impact on society is intense. Schools practice lockdown drills, preparing children for the worst. Hospitals deal with the aftermath of gun violence on a daily basis. First responders face trauma, not knowing what they will encounter with every 9/11 call. There are protests to end gun violence.
The community is tired. We are emotionally drained. Government would just do something to keep people from getting guns they don't need.
Certainly, responsible gun ownership could help reducing gun violence in USA. Same way, the US government and other big weapon producing countries should also change their narrative around guns and military weapons, making sure guns are seen as tools of protection and sport, not instruments of fear and violence in the world. Less weapons means fewer war, fewer deaths, and fewer families torn apart. The truth is, there's no restriction on producing the weapons. In fact, there's no book of rules for the superpowers. Their only tool is power and influence. And sadly, the thirst for influence and power is directly related to the military and military firearm. The question we must ask ourselves is this: how many more lives need to be lost before we say enough is enough to the business of war? Instead of seeking power to become superpower in the world, why the world cannot live in peace? A world where there is no violence, no war, and no business of war. Let us know your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious.